Hello and welcome to today's teaching. Here is Pastor Joe.
Welcome back. Glad to have you with us today. I trust you're doing well. In the midst of all this that's going on in the earth right now, we just know that we serve a good God. We have been studying the last 2 weeks on things that God said He'd never do to us, and so we want to continue along that line. We want to talk to you last time we closed with saying that these are absolutes with God. Now, if I didn't say that, I should have said that. So that's what I want you to know, that these things are absolutes. Everything He said He would do, not do to us, those are things that are absolutes for us. And so in saying that, I want to look at what the word absolute means, because sometimes people have different meanings for it. But there's a definition I looked up I really like, and I think it applies to this very well. It says that an absolute is a view or an existing is a view viewed or existing independently and not in relation to other things. In other words, church, God says that His being absolute means that what He has is not contingent on other things. Other things have nothing to do with how He feels, what He's going to do. In other words, whatever we do is not going to change what He's already promised He will do. And so it's important for you to understand that, church, and for me to understand that when He says, I'll never leave you nor forsake you, whether we believe it or not is not the case, because He said, I'm never going to do it. So therefore, it's up for us to understand that He's the initiator with a responder. If He says, I'm a God of all comfort, I'll never leave you comfortless, He really means that. Whether we believe He will or not, He's still going to do it. It's up for us to receive it. You see, church, we serve a good God, a powerful, good God. And so when God makes promises to us and says things to us and tells us how He's going to do, He's going to do those things, irregardless of whether we believe it or not. Now, if we believe it, it's going to flow more freely. But He says, I'm never going to leave you nor forsake you, right in the midst of your problem, right in the midst of your sin, right in the midst of your failure. He means that. So it's incumbent upon us to respond to that. He's the initiating it. We're responding to it. Does that make sense? And so we serve a God who says, if you don't believe me, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to do it anyway. I want you to believe me, so it will work out better for you. It'll really work out great for you. It'll show you how much I truly do love you. But even in the midst of all of it, if you don't love me, I'm still going to love you. If you're not faithful to me, I'll still be faithful. Why? Because I'm not going to deny myself. So it's important we understand these things. Now I want to share with you a story that really goes along these lines of God's faithfulness, God being good. There was this brother who had a problem and with, I think he had committed adultery, and he lost his church, he lost his wife, lost his family, and so he was really depressed, really needing help, and so he contacted some pastor friends of his who flew in, and the minute they got there, he said the first thing they wanted to do was they wanted to go to a strip bar. Well, he told them to get back on the plane and go, because I don't have no use for that. And so they did. So anyway, he went a few days, I don't know how many days, but finally contacted a pastor that had a large church in another state. Asked him, could he help him? And the pastor said, yes, I will. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a job working here at the church. You'll be a janitor. But during the same time, while you're here, you and I will be counseling together, and you'll be accountable to me. And so he agreed, and he left, and he went. Excuse me. And he was there for about a year, being faithful to clean the church, and he wasn't a deacon, he wasn't an elder, he wasn't any of that stuff. He was there as working at the church, and the pastor and him were working together. So one Sunday morning, a missionary who was there, and he comes in, and he says, as he's preaching, he looked at the brother who was sitting in the front row, and he stopped and he looked at him and he said, you, my brother, when I return, you're supposed to go with me. And so he looked at they turned him in, instantly looked at the pastor and he said, Pastor, you're supposed to come with us too. So the pastor prayed about it and felt like the Lord was saying to go, and so they went. So they got down to the country. I don't know what country it was. That's not the main point. The point is that they went to this country. They got down there, and it was raining, and so the church had already started, so they rushed them into the church, and they'd sit on the stage. Well, this brother who's telling the story said, I wouldn't qualify on the stage. I wasn't anything. I was just, there. But he had sat on the stage. We sat next door beside this older man who was missing one leg. And the older man was happened to turn around and looked. And then when he looked at him, he just froze, staring at him, and then started crying. So then he turned back around and finished the service. And so the next morning, when they got ready to go, the missionary was going to go further, go on to another village or other villages. And the older man, the pastor of the church there with the one leg, said, I want this brother to stay. Well, so that brother just stayed. The pastor and the missionary said, sure, that's fine, he can stay here. So he stayed. And so while he was there, he was able, the pastor spoke a little English, so he spoke something to him. So it wasn't, really, really bad. Because being somewhere you can't speak the language is really hard. As you might say, duh, but unless you've been there, which I have, it is difficult. And so anyway, they went on and decided to go, and they left. And so the next morning at 4:30 in the morning, this pastor comes and wakes his brother up. Well, this pastor's he lived in a little room back in back of the church, and so he lived there in this little room. It was connected to the church, and so he wakes him at 4:30 and says, "Let's go pray." And so they leave to go pray, and they go into the church, and they kneel at the altar and they pray. Well, this brother said, about 20 minutes of prayer, I'd prayed everything I could think to pray. But he said this other brother was still praying, and this guy prayed for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. He really prayed for a while. And so, they went through that day. Then the next morning, 4:30, he gets awakened again, and he's told that, hey, we go pray. So he went in and prayed. He said the same thing, about 20 minutes, I'm done. This brother's still praying, and so we prayed for about an hour and a half all total. So then the next day, same thing. Come in at 4:30, wake him up. He just like, oh man. He's okay, I don't have to worry about it. This is my last day. It'll be all good. And so he decided to go. He said, went in and prayed, and he was praying. He got his 20 minutes in. He's still there at the altar, and he said, I happened to look up. And he said, as I looked up, the roof was gone off the church, and he said, I could see the stars. And he said, I was staring up at the sky at these stars, and I thought to myself, what in the world? He said, I must be dreaming. He said, I must have fallen asleep praying. What is this all about? And he said, I saw this star, one star, that was extremely bright. And he said, I kept staring at it. And I noticed it looked like it's getting closer and closer. And sure enough, the light from that was getting closer and closer. And so suddenly, the light just overwhelmed me, went all over me, went straight through me. It was all around me, went straight through me. And he said, as it did, all the darkness on the inside of me was eradicated. It went through me, through the floor, into the ground. And then it went back up again. It was gone. He said, then the roof came back over. He said, I was totally changed. All those feelings I had, all those desires, everything was gone. God had eradicated all that sin out of my life, just totally and completely eradicated by the light. So, that afternoon when the pastor and missionary showed up, he's all excited. He's joyful. And so he tells the missionary and his pastor what had happened. Well, the missionary told the story to the pastor with the one leg, and he said that the pastor with the one leg started crying. Because, see, he didn't see the light. He didn't see any of that. He was just really in prayer, so he didn't see any of that. And so when he's sharing his story with him, the pastor with the one leg started crying, and he started sharing his story. When his story was this: a year earlier, first of the year, I should say, first of the year, he was told by God that this man, he showed him a vision of this man's face. He said, this man's going to come to you, and when he's coming to you, for me to heal him. And so he said, I got that mental image of this man's face. And he said, I held on to that, looking for this man to show up. Well, 6 months went by, and he said, I was diagnosed with inoperable cancer. And he was inoperable. Anyway, he was diagnosed with cancer. They cut off his leg, thinking that would stop the spread of it, but it was too late. It already spread through his whole body. And so he was, they told him, you're going to die. And he says, there's no way to help you. And so he's laying there in the bed, and he told the Lord, he said, look, Lord, you told me 6 months ago I was going to see this man, and I don't see this man. I can't die until I see that man. And so he said, all of a sudden the roof was gone. He said, I could see up into the stars. And he said, this light came down and shoo, went right through me, went back up, and the roof came back over the house. And he said, all my cancer was gone. I was totally healed. And he said, so the other day I'm sitting there on the platform, and y'all all walk in, and he said, I look over to see who's sitting beside me, and there's the man. Now that's powerful, isn't it, church? The same time this brother confessed what he had done, and he said he got caught. He confessed what he had done, and he lost his church, lost his wife, lost everything. That same time, other part of the world, God's showing that His face to this man, telling this man, I'm going to bring him to you, and when he comes, I'm bringing him to healing. And then this brother says, 6 months passed, I have cancer, I'm dying. But he told God, I haven't seen this man yet. I cannot die. Church, that's powerful. That's so powerful. God is so good, so faithful. This brother had no idea that God had spoken to another man, that he was going to heal him. He had no idea. That's how good our God is, church. You see what I said earlier, if you don't believe it, not going to change who God is. If you don't want to accept it for yourself, it ain't going to change who God is. This brother messed up bad, went a whole year as a servant, and didn't even think about the ministry. That was all, no. But God said, I haven't forgot about you. And so today, this brother's back in the ministry, totally clean, totally healed. Just an awesome story. So I said all to say, church, that listen, we serve a God who cares more than we could ever imagine. And the things He told us are absolutes, which means that they're not contingent on anything outside of who He is. And He said, I'm going to do it, and then it means He's going to do it. So until next time, church, be blessed. I want to thank you for watching today. I hope that we were a blessing. If we were, then please leave a comment or call the number listed below. Until next time, always remember, God's grace is bigger than your sin. Have a good day.